A golf handicap is a numerical measure of a golfer's lack of ability. In stroke play, it is used to calculate a net score from the number of strokes actually played during a competition, thus allowing players of different proficiency to play against each other on somewhat equal terms. In match play, the handicap difference between players is used to determine the number of strokes the high handicap player should receive from the low handicapper during the playing of the round. The higher the handicap of a player, the poorer the player is relative to those with lower handicaps. Official handicaps are administered by golf clubs, with regional and national golf associations providing additional peer reviewing for low and very low handicaps respectively. Exact rules relating to handicaps can vary from country to country. Handicap systems are not used in professional golf. Amateur golfers who are members of golf clubs are generally eligible for official handicaps on payment of the prevailing regional and national association annual fees. Other systems, often free of charge, are available to golfers who are ineligible for official handicaps. Overview. A USGA handicap is calculated with a specific arithmetic formula that approximates how many strokes above or below par a player might be able to play, based on the 10 best scores of the last 20 rounds. The round.The, based in St Andrews, Scotland, has no jurisdiction over handicapping. The administration of handicapping systems in countries affiliated to the round.The is the responsibility of the national golf associations of those countries. These bodies specify slightly different ways to perform this calculation for players. The details of these calculations are presented below. A golfer's net score is determined by subtracting the player's handicap from the gross score. The net scores of all the competing golfers are compared, and the person with the lowest score wins. Contrary to popular opinion, a player's handicap is intended to show a player's potential, not a player's average score. The frequency by which a player will play to the handicap is a function of the golfer's handicap, as low handicappers are statistically more consistent than higher handicappers. The USGA refers to this as the average best method. So in a large handicapped competition, the golfer who shoots the best with respect to his abilities and the normal variations of the score should win. While there are many variations in detail, handicap systems are generally based on calculating an individual player's playing ability from his recent history of rounds. Therefore, a handicap is not fixed but is regularly adjusted to increases or decreases in a player's scoring. In the United States, handicaps are calculated using several variables: the player's scores from his most recent rounds, and the course rating and slope from those rounds. A handicap differential is calculated from the scores using the course slope and rating, and the player's handicap differentials are used to calculate the player's handicap. Scratch and bogey golfers. A golfer whose handicap is 0 is called a scratch golfer. A golfer whose handicap is approximately 18 is called a bogey golfer. Calculating a score. The handicap is used to determine on which holes a player is granted extra strokes. These are then used to calculate a net score from the number of strokes actually played. To find how many strokes a player is given, the procedures differ between match play and stroke play. In match play, the difference between the player's handicaps is distributed among the holes to be played. For example, if 18 holes are played, player A's handicap is 24, and player B's handicap is 14, then A is granted 10 strokes, 1 on each of the 10 holes identified by the handicap numbers chapter 1 through 10 on the scorecard, and no strokes on the remaining 8. If A's handicap is 36 and B's handicap is 14, A is granted 22 strokes, 1 on each of the 18 holes to be played, and an additional 1 on each of the 4 holes holes identified by the handicap numbers Chapter 1 through 4 on the scorecard. The procedure in stroke play is similar, but each player's individual handicap is used to calculate extra strokes. Therefore, a player with handicap 10 is granted 1 stroke on each of the 10 holes identified by the handicap numbers Chapter 1 through 10 on the scorecard and number extra strokes on the remaining 8. A player with a handicap of 22 is granted 22 strokes, 1 on each of the 18 holes and an additional 1 on each of the 4 holes identified by the handicap numbers Chapter 1 through 4 on the scorecard. Example for the calculation of net results: assume that A is granted 1 stroke on a par 4 hole and player B is granted none. If A plays 6 strokes and B plays 5, their net scores are equal. Therefore, in match play the hole is halved. In stroke play both have played A net bogey. If both play 5 strokes, A has played better by 1 net stroke. Therefore, in match play A wins the hole. In stroke play A has played A net par and B A net bogey. Specific example: let's say that we have 5 golfers, Scott, Craig, Minty, Danny, and Les of various abilities, who are in a competition against each other. To the right of the players and the handicap indices, the course has the following slope: 120. So, using the formulas above, here are the course handicaps from the tees being played. And, finally, to the right are the gross and the net scores. Danny wins because he is the only one in the group who actually shot better than his handicap. Slope rating. The slope rating is the USGA mark that indicates the measurement of the relative difficulty for a bogey golfer compared to the course rating. Slope rating is computed from the difference between the bogey rating and the course rating. The lowest slope rating is 55 and the highest is 155. The average slope rating is 113. To compute the handicap strokes from a given set of tees on a specific course with a slope of S given a handicap index of H, the following formula is used: *H rounded to the nearest integer. Example: a male golfer plays a course with slope rating 126 and course rating 72.5. For the formula, compute 126, 5.3H1 plus 72.5 equals 95.9, which predicts the bogey golfer's average of his 10 best scores would be approximately 95.9 from this particular set of tees. Based on the above, the correct formula would be 18 plus 72.5 equals 92.5 for a bogey golfer on a slope rating 126 course. Peer review. In golf clubs, peer review is usually managed by an elected handicap secretary who, supported by a small committee, conducts an annual review of the handicaps of all members and assesses ad hoc requests from individual members. This gives a uniformity to handicapping across the club for the setting and maintenance of handicaps with the objective of establishing fair competition between golfers of all abilities. At regional level, peer review is extended to include rigorous validation of the handicap returns of low handicap golfers. This ensures that only golfers of an appropriate standard gain entry to their elite tournaments. Occasionally, golfers are excluded from the elite game as a consequence of being found to abuse the system. To a degree, these regional bodies also monitor the performance of and provide training for handicap secretaries at the club level. Nationally, the peer review is extended further to assessing golfers from external jurisdictions for the suitability for entry into their elite international events. They also play a large part in periodic reviews of the handicapping system itself for the purpose of improving it for the future. History of the USGA system. The USGA has often resorted to the courts to protect the integrity of its handicap system. In one such case, the California Court of Appeal summarized the system's history, handicapping in the United Kingdom and Ireland. In the UK and Republic of Ireland, a scratch score system was previously in place in order to rate courses and be fair to golfers of varying ability, and to make allowances that courses may play easier or harder than par overall to the amateur field. For this reason, a standard scratch score is used as a baseline for how the course plays in practice. Akin to the SSS is the competition scratch score. The principle is the same, only this describes how easy or difficult the course played during a given competition. It is against the CSS score that a player's handicap is adjusted by the club. Golfers with a handicap of 5 or lower are said to be Category 1 players. Higher handicap players are categorized as Category 2, 3, or 4. For every stroke the Category 1 golfer's net score is below the CSS, his handicap is reduced by 0.1. For Category 2 golfers, this figure is 0.2, for Category 3 golfers it is a 0.3 reduction, and 0.4 for Category 4 golfers. Similarly, amateur golfers are allowed a buffer zone to protect the handicap on off days. For Cat 1 this is 1 stroke, for Cat 2 this is 2 strokes, etc. This means that if a Category 1 golfer's net score is 1 stroke higher than the CSS, his handicap will not increase. If a golfer's net score is higher than the CSS plus buffer zone combined, his handicap will increase by 0.1. This 0.1 increase covers all golfers and does not vary by category. The Home Unions of England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland are members of the Council of National Golf Unions, who publish the handicapping rules for both men and women. Although they can be done manually, computer software now must be used to calculate the CSS, and in Ireland and England handicaps are now published to a centralized database of handicaps. CDHs are also being introduced in Scotland and Wales in 2011. EGA Handicap System. The EGA Handicap System is the EGA's method of evaluating golf abilities so that players of different standards can compete in handicap events on equal terms. An EGA playing handicap is the number of handicap strokes a player receives for a specific set of tees at the course being played. The playing handicap is expressed as a whole number rounds upwards to 0 and -1.5 to -1. Note 1. If a player's playing handicap is negative, he gives handicap strokes to the course commencing at stroke index 18. Note 2. The playing handicap is considered to be the handicap referred to in Rule 6-2 of the Rules of Golf. The EGA playing handicap formula converts EGA exact handicaps into EGA playing handicaps. Playing handicap equals exact handicap x plus. Under the EGA system, final scores might be amended using the competition Stableford adjustment method. Australian Handicap System. Australian golf handicaps are maintained by GolfLink, which was a world-first computerized handicapping system developed by Golf Australia's predecessor, the Australian Golf Union, in the 1990s. The AGU operated from 1898 until it merged with Women's Golf to form GAR in 2006. Together with its state territory bodies, GAR represents 445,000 amateur golfers belonging to 1530 golf clubs, and sits alongside bodies representing the pros, superintendents, managers and architects. When GolfLink was first introduced, it contained two key characteristics that set it apart from other world handicapping systems. 1. It relied on a calculated course rating to determine how difficult the course was on the day, and upon which handicap adjustment was made. 2. It utilized a swipe card that enabled a player to access his handicap from any GolfLink terminal in Australia. In April 2010, GA adopted the USGA calculation method using the average of the best 10 differentials of the player's past 20 total rounds, multiplied by 0.96. In September 2011, this was altered to the best 8 out of 20 rounds, multiplied by 0.93. In addition, an anchor was introduced so that no player is permitted to increase his handicap by more than 5 in a rolling 12-month period. The reasons for these changes were cited to restore equity between high and low markers. Rather than introduce the USGA slope system, GA intends to introduce a more sophisticated version of CCR, the daily scratch rating. Other systems. For the handicapping of golfers who are ineligible for an official handicap, a number of system options are available. Peoria system. The Peoria system was designed for the handicapping of all players competing in an event such as a charity or corporate golf day. Before play commences, the organizers secretly select 6 holes from the course to be played. When players have completed the rounds, they apply the Peoria algorithm to the scores on the selected holes to determine the handicap for that round. They then simply subtract that handicap from the gross score to give the net score, and the winner is determined in the usual way. Callaway system. The Callaway system was designed with the same objective as Peoria. The Callaway handicapping algorithm works by totaling a variable number of worst scores achieved according to a simple table. A couple of adjustments are then made to this total to give the player's handicap, which is then applied to the gross score as normal. Systems 36 is a same-day handicapping system similar in function to Callaway system and Peoria system. Throughout the round, the golfer accrues points based on the following formula: double bogey or worse, 0 points; bogey, 1 point; par or better, 2 points. At the end of the round, points earned are tallied. The total is subtracted from 36, and the resulting number is the golfer's handicap allowance. His net score can then be computed using his system's 36 handicap allowance.